I love printing. I love printing. I love it. I love printing. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another session podcast with me, Warren Werbitt, printer to printer. Today, we do not have a printer. Today, I've gone outside the line and I have with me Jordan Darragh from PrintReleaf, and I'm going to have a conversation about sustainability. Ha! Yes, sustainability. So before we go on, Jordan, welcome.
Thank you, Warren. Appreciate it.
Glad to have you.
Glad to be here.
Why don't you give us a little snippet or whatever you want to tell us about PrintReleaf?
Sure. PrintReleaf is relatively new to the commercial print industry, even though we've been around for 10 years. We offer a platform that measures paper consumption. And then we represent two different environmental metrics. We can tell you how many trees were harvested for that print job or what the carbon footprint was, and then we can make it actionable. So an end customer that's interested in sustainability typically is attracted to a service like ours for one or both services because they've got certain sustainability goals or commitments they're trying to meet. And so we bring that all to life in a software platform. We license it through printers all the way to the end customer. And we've found a great little market in the commercial print world.
Cool. So I met you, just so everybody's on the up and up, for the first time at D-Scoop 6-8 weeks ago.
Yep.
You had your table set up with PrintReleaf, and I wandered over because I was curious as to what it was. And I'm always pretty skeptical with the sustainability in the world of print because I personally feel that we've been hosed over the years by, they're not going to be happy with me, but I don't really care. FSC, SFI, PEFC. People have heard me say it before. I used to have all three of them. In the beginning, I had them as a marketing tool to show people that we cared about, the world and sustainability, which we do. But I also spent $12,000 a year and really didn't get anything other than a little logo that I could put on the back of something. And then they would come in and give us this crazy audit of watching what we did, that we don't mix up paper, right? To me, we never mixed up paper. We'd be out of business.
Yep.
But more importantly, with the FSC, with that whole chain, once they've been to the forest, they've been to the paper mill and the paper's in the box. I don't even know why they're coming to the printer to get money from us. I also don't know what happens to any of that money. So I've always been a little disenchanted with them because I've always felt that it was the steal, bad word, money grab, because when I would inquire about some big corporations in print, they could have 20 plants, do the certification, and they'll have one plant audited a year.
Yeah.
And the others didn't have to be. Yet, like the middle income people living out there and the small, medium-sized printer, it feels as if we're carrying the burden again of paying for all the certification when the big companies are not, right?
Yep.
So I kind of always had a little, I'm all for the environment. If you drink water, by the way, in a plastic bottle, you cannot tell me you are for the environment. I have my renewable bottle from what they think, which I keep filling up. Anyways, all that to be said, what got me interested in what you were doing was more about the planting of the trees. Because at least if I'm going to pay and I get to see a tree, you put people's names on the trees, by the way? No, I'm just kidding.
We don't, no.
You can give them the area. So we pay for the tree and then the tree comes up and it goes. So maybe just tell us, or the people listening, a little bit about the difference from what you know to what you're doing, because yours is just not an audit and a fee.
The first thing I will say is we actually didn't set out to compete with FSC or PEFC or SFI. We just sort of ended up in some cases where some printers saw our solution as an alternative to them. Others see it as compatible with them. But the difference is we're not looking backwards at the chain of custody and auditing everybody in that supply chain, be it the printer or the mill, all the way down to the forest. We're actually just planting trees for the equivalent amount of paper that we measure, and we audit the forest. So we sort of take the printer and the supply chain out of it. And if you want to opt into this program and plant trees, you can. One of the other differences, we're not replacing trees. So we're not putting trees back into a forest and then having them cut down again and then paying to have put them back again. We're planting trees into net new projects or conservation projects. So every print job that's PrintRelief certified is actually helping to grow our global forestry system. So as customers continue to print and they're opted into PrintRelief, those forests continue to grow from 100 trees, 1,000, 10,000, et cetera. And customers, we find, like that idea. They like that, positioning of their funding and what it delivers for them on the marketing side as well, which we can get into too. But those are some of the fundamental differences between the PrintRelief program and what is chain of custody like FSC.
Right. Okay. So how does it work? I want to sign up with you. Let me ask another question. From what I know, with FSC, I get a job from a customer. They want to use FSC paper. I got to send in our docket and get approval from them, which is another pain in the ass, stop the job in production. They don't even know what they're talking about half the time. I once did a job for one of the biggest environmentalists in Canada who called at the 11th hour. I made the decision to use FSC paper, put the logo on because I had no time. Yeah. And then when I did it, sent it in after, they're like telling me they were going to take away potentially my certification. And I'm kind of like, I just did this for the biggest environmentalist in Canada. Do you think I'm messing around? I took offense. But anyways, I'm not here to bitch about them only. But there's a lot of charges and there's a lot of time and a lot of, I don't know what.
Yeah.
So how does it work for you? I get a job, customer, we want to be relieved by, PrintRelief. No pun intended. How does it work?
Good one. A little bit different. So we have a software platform. It's online and we connect through the printer. So if you were a commercial printer, we would sign up you as a partner of ours. And it's set up where you can do one print job a year with us. You could do 10,000. It's up to you. And the more you do, the lower your price. It is volume based. Just want to be clear about that, whether it's for the reforestation or for the carbon. But it's very flexible that way. But through the online portal, you will register your customers on PrintRelief too under the hierarchy of your account. Once you register a customer, let's say it was this big environmental organization, each one of those customers is going to have access to the software as well. So that's kind of cool because now you can invite them and your contacts at your customer are logging into PrintRelief and they'll see their data. They'll see how many trees are being planted or how much carbon is being offset. They'll see all of their certificates of reforestation or carbon offset. They're having an experience on PrintRelief because of you, the printer, giving them this value or selling them this value. It's up to you how you want to position it. And then the last piece is, you mentioned, say, the little FSC bug you want to put on the print job. When you add those customers in PrintRelief, we issue each individual customer their own PrintRelief QR code. But we remove all of that process, if you will, of having to go around the block to get approval. It's already approved. They've got it. It goes into their design file. So when it comes to you, it's ready to print. So there's no bottleneck in your operation in terms of getting to press. So it's pretty clean and simple and streamlined that way.
What's the cost for doing all this stuff? Or how does it cost? Or how much is it going to cost me? Or then one other question. Sorry, just one other question, because I heard you when you said do it or bill the customer. Are printers billing their customers?
Depends on who they are and who their customers are. The answer is yes, and sometimes it's no. So we have, I characterize it as partners on both ends of the spectrum. We have some that are going all in. They take PrintRelief as part of their marketing strategy, their whole go-to-market strategy, and they invest in PrintRelief. And so they're taking it and providing it to their customers at no charge as additional value in a way to strengthen their relationship with their clients, whether it's a retention strategy or acquisition strategy. So that's one end of the spectrum. Then you have others, and these are the ones that are more typically charging for PrintRelief. They have customers that are interested in a service like ours who are willing to pay for it, and they're either passing it through a cost, they may be marking it up. We don't have visibility to that. We don't publish pricing, so we basically tell the printers, here's guidance, but we're not going to tell you how to run your business. And so those are the two different ends of the spectrum in terms of how they go to market for pricing.
Cool. And so, can you give me an idea of a price?
Yeah. So we're going to be a little careful because this is the price from PrintRelief to the printer, and then the printer can then decide how they want to, again, price it to the customer. But just to give you a general sense.
Well, let's prefix this by just saying you're using dollars for discussion, but they don't pertain to anything real.
Sure.
They're made up numbers.
They can be generally close. So
No, I just because I just want to know how it works. Is it the
Yeah.
size of the job, the cost of the job, the amount of sheets of the job, the
It's the
amount of ink
weight.
on a job? If there's lamination, you killed it, so you're charging more.
We're looking at the total weight of the paper being measured. And as you know, in a print job, you could have different stocks of different weights. We take that into account. And we also transact in US dollars, but also from a weight perspective, either in pounds or kilograms. And so depending on where they are in the world, we're friendly that way. And for that one end of the spectrum where they're paying per job, the printer's likely passing it through, is typically to the customer somewhere around 5 or 6 cents per pound that they would be charged for PrintRelief. On the other end of the spectrum, where the volume is a lot higher, we're able to discount the rate significantly. And so it might be all the way up to 60 to 70% off from that one price, because you're dealing with two different economies of scale. And then in between would be the rest of that delta.
So there's actually 3 ways to move the needle. One, from what I see, the printer takes it, uses it as a marketing plan for everybody that they have, and they could do it for everybody, and they bite the bullet. B, I like B best. We always like B best. Is it's a split between the two companies, because I believe firmly if a customer is so adamant about their sustainability, in the process that they follow, then they should be paying for part of it. So if it's good for both, then you really are working as partners together to, make for a better, cleaner world. And then the other option is that the customer pay for the whole thing, which honestly, I think that's the best one. But realistically, I don't know how many are going to fork out all the money. But then again, it's not always a lot of money, because sometimes jobs are expensive, but it's the weight of the paper.
Yep.
So it's pretty.
There's also
cool.
like a third pretty common strategy in between, where if you look at the profile of customers for a commercial printer, they're often going to have, a top 10 list or a top 20 list. It's their most protected, most valuable customers. And they'll be strategic about that. They'll often invest in PrintRelief to provide the service to those key customers. And then for everyone else, they may charge for it. So they'll kind of cut it in a hybrid sense to go to market that way.
Right. Yeah, I guess you get to cut up the pie and use it how you see fit.
Yeah.
So I'm just so that whoever's listening can get an idea. If you're a $2 million printer and you're buying, I don't know, a few $100,000 of paper a year, in using, okay, so let me rephrase that. You have different size customers.
Yeah.
Do you have any ranges you can give on people, what they spend if they're a whatever size, small, medium, large shop?
Yeah, and we've got plans to try and kind of meet everybody where they're at. So you can kind of start from the bottom, like I said, do one job a year with us, and all the way to your full volume. And so the profile of the printers we're working with, which we work with hundreds worldwide. On the high end, we've got some doing around 10 million pounds a month. On the other low end, we have them doing, a few thousand pounds a year. So just depends on who they are and, again, how they want to work with us.
What's the resistance been when you're going out to pitch it?
That's a great question, because we see what I would say both sides of this, meaning we see how customers react to PrintRelief, we see how printers react to PrintRelief, but because we sell through the printers and don't sell direct, I see different points of view, if you will, in terms of how printers view our service. And so some of their personal bias sometimes gets in the way of what I would say is market value with their customers. So if you have an owner of a commercial printer that sees PrintRelief, but they're not really an environmentalist or subscribe to sustainability as a business solution, they might say, well, we're not interested. But behind that person, there might be 10 customers of theirs that really would be interested in our service. And sometimes you see that move in the marketplace where we're working with one of their competitors, and that can be impactful. The other side of that is you've got bias the other way, where they love what we do and they want to partner with us and take it to their customers and support it personally as much for themselves as for their customer interests.
Well, truthfully, for the few cents you said before, a pound or 5 cents, whatever number it was, which is not a lot, it's really not a big to do, right? No. I think I honestly, like it from the marketing angle. I like it from the tangible angle of I could see the trees that have been planted.
Yeah.
Right. The other associations, accreditations, to me, I sat in the room when the auditor was there one day and just sat there, and they're like, "Why are you sitting here?" And I go, "Because I want to understand what you're doing for my money."
Yeah.
And all they had was 7 dockets to look at.
Yeah.
So $4,000 for 7 dockets. If I do my math, that's like 5, 6. So actually, let me do the math. So if I paid $4,000 and I did 7 orders, that means I paid $571 an order for my certification.
Yep.
If I were to do an order, so what kind of order would I have to do for a customer for me to spend $571 with you?
So for about the same amount of money you spent, call it $4,000 over the course of the year, and I assume that was Canadian at the time.
It could have been a par, so just
doesn't matter. Yeah, so give or take. So for our kind of beginner starter plan that would compete with that, you could do 120,000 pounds of offset or reforestation per year for about the same amount of money. So I don't know what the size of those 7 jobs were. So just to be fair,
in all fairness, I promise you, none of them were giant.
Okay. So 120,000 pounds will stretch pretty far, and that's what it would get you for about $3,500 to $4,500 bucks.
Yeah, I'm not holding, just to get an idea, because if you had FSC because you had one customer or a decent customer, but they got to be giving you some decent business to make it warrant, or you got to put the $4,000 right at the bottom of your cost right away to work it off quickly.
And again, that's at our highest rate. So if you wanted to go spend more than 4,000, you get more volume.
The highest rate, because if they do more, then it only comes down.
Correct.
Right. Give me some of the positive that you've heard from people regarding your program versus whatever I mentioned.
Yeah. So there's really 2 pillars of what we do. We have customers that are interested in checking an environmental compliance box. That's why they might be interested in chain of custody, like FSC, et cetera. And so we allow them to do that and be able to then relay to their customers that they're environmentally conscious. But then the other pillar is the marketing side. And customers who opt into these programs typically want to claim it. They want to talk about it. They want to promote it. And so, we do a number of different things to help bring that to life. I mentioned the software, and through that, there's a user experience for the end customer, which, by the way, tends to create some stickiness between that client and the printer, because all their data is flowing through PrintReleaf under the hierarchy of that particular commercial printer. Well, if that customer wanted to go to another commercial printer, they can't take their data with them. Okay. So because it's licensed under that commercial printer. So there's some retention strategy there. And that's been helpful from a marketing perspective for the printer. But then there's value for marketing for the end customer. I mentioned that QR code. They can put it on the print job. If I get a billing statement from one of these end customers, like a cable company that has a QR code, and not everybody's going to scan that, but it might be 3 to 5%. If I scan that, it's going to tell me a whole sustainability story about that brand. So now your customer is getting value. There's like a brand engagement strategy here that's a needle that's being thread all the way out to their audience to help promote and communicate their participation and impact in a sustainability program. So you're helping them bring value to their customer on the print job itself that hasn't existed until we brought that to market.
Yeah, no, I love that, because truthfully, when I did the other certifications, sustainability was just talking. Everybody was jumping on it. Everybody was signing up for all of them.
Yeah.
The predominant message I was doing it for was marketing.
Yeah.
Right. To let people know. So I think that is by far, and I think it's important really, that people know what you're doing as a company. Yeah. But I like the way you're making it more affordable for people and more transparent.
Yep. More transparent, a little more tangible, I guess, too, in terms of how it finds its way.
So have you had any printers customers say anything about it? I'm just curious, if I go to the end user, the better ones, how excited were they about it?
they're very excited about it in certain segments of the market. So we're clear and upfront to say we don't believe PrintReleaf is for every single end customer. We're not trying, it's not a one size fits all. There's certainly end customers out there that just don't care, and you're not going to win them all. But where we're finding our solution has the most value and we get the most positive feedback is typically at the top of the market. So you've got large enterprise clients who have public facing commitments and pledges that they want to reduce their carbon footprint by 20, 30, 40, 50, et cetera. Then you move down the market and you've got different verticals or segments that are more, I think, in tune to sustainability. So higher education, all the way down to primary schools. They're trying to educate their faculty and students about this. So they tend to really like any sustainability idea that comes across their desk. But this one, in terms of printing, resonates well. And then in the middle market and down, it's again more driven by the values, the mission, the interest of that company, their culture, what matters to them. And I think you're seeing a rise in interest from the next generation, where there's insistence on leadership and ownership in these companies to be more mindful, to be more sustainable. And, we're one solution of 100, but we tend to check a box that's affordable and give some value to the end customer. And so case by case in the middle market and down, we're seeing interest from them as well.
Yeah, I think it's all important. I think, I think for some companies, you have to be in it in some way. You can't completely blow it off and chuck it, out the window and then do nothing. So do end users find you and call you ever?
Yes, more and more than they have before, because we really didn't get into the commercial print market until almost 2.5 years ago. Prior to that, we had a 7-year run in the office print space. That was my background prior to starting PrintReleaf. So I was growing up in my 20s, I was selling Xerox, HP, Lexmark solutions, supplies, hardware, et cetera. And PrintReleaf came to me as an idea at a later part of my career. Eventually, we found it had traction in the office print market. So, Xerox is one of our biggest customers, and we licensed it to them, and then they sub-licensed it to a lot of their, Fortune 100 clients. And through building the business, the commercial print market really found us 2 or 3 years ago. And it was good timing because we had hit a little bit of a rough patch because of COVID. And we had our business models tied to consumption, and people were retreating from the office due to remote work. And so good timing, we found the commercial print market, and fast forward to the present, the office print market has rebounded, not completely, but a lot from where it was at the beginning of COVID. And now commercial print is a bigger actual segment for us than the office print world, because the paper volume flowing through is that much more significant. So long answer to your question was, yes, more and more end customers are starting to find us because they see our logo on a print shop and they're like, what is this? And the ones that are curious might scan it and they land on our website, and then they're contacting us. First question we ask them is, who's the commercial printer you work with? And we try to help that printer, enable our service for them.
One of the bad things about FSC logo on the back was you put your number in there.
Yeah.
So for other printers that are listening, I'm assuming you did the same thing. And if you didn't, you should. But I always went on to the number to see who my competition was.
Okay, so we don't put the number on.
No, it's good because
yeah,
it's nobody's business, right?
Yeah. No, the code is, and the QR code and the marketing of that is really for the end customer. So when scanned, you're landing on their PrintReleaf kind of profile page, like a Facebook page.
Right.
Like, here's how many trees you planted and where, and the benefits and impacts, and learn more. And you can get down a rabbit hole to bring that brand to market in combination with the sustainability story. So the commercial printer that's turning that service on for the end customer is unknown.
Now, what if the end user called you and their printer had no interest?
Yep.
How do you go about that? You charge the end user and leave out the printer?
In a very few rare cases have we actually sold our service direct to the end customer. And that's why, because there isn't a printer that's ready to serve them yet. But we've only done that in the kind of an extreme case where it's a very large order and they want it now. Otherwise, we say, here's our directory of partners. We'll find another one in your region.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of all the things I could think of to poke at it. Right?
Well, I think one thing you could, that is a great and fair question, which we want to answer, is how do we know my trees are getting planted? How do I know my carbon's being offset? And this was something that we built on day one. We drafted the PrintReleaf standard of governance, which outlines all of our rules and requirements in order to receive funding from us to plant trees. And so there's a number of people, organizations out there planting trees, and they've all got their hand out and they want funding. So we get a lot of inbound traffic saying, can we partner with you? Well, the first thing we do is we hand them our standard and say, well, make sure you check all these boxes and requirements in order to work with us. And at a high level, it's like, are you transparent with your reporting? Do you agree to be audited? Like, we're going to send an auditor to your forest and count the trees. And are you financially stable? So there's a lot of startups in this world. We want the more established groups that have expertise in this. And we do that. So we go audit these forests and warn pretty much every single time they come up short. It's just the way Mother Nature works. If you plant 100 trees, you might get 95 that survive. You might get 80. Well, we replant everything we lose. That's part of the standard. And we've been doing that for a decade. So our whole portfolio is 100% net positive. We've planted more trees than we've actually certified. So that answer is important because customers want to know, and that's the answer we deliver. So they opt into it with knowing it, they can make a claim with integrity.
You'll plant 5%. You'll like printing. You'll plant 5% over to make sure you come out good.
Generally speaking, yeah.
Okay, as long as it's plus, not plus minus like some printers.
Yeah.
But wow, no, I like the idea of. I mean, trees are important, right? And I like the being able to. I lost the word, but I'm to because it's so transparent to see exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
I think most printers with the other ones just felt like they were being taken advantage of and paying a fee to go to. Actually, yeah, we were paying a fee because the auditors were big auditing companies and they kept most of the money out of that fee.
Yeah.
For what? We
actually pay for the audits for their forests. So it's part of our business model. We're not passing that through. But I guess you could say whoever's, partnering with us, part of what you're paying for is the reforestation, the audits, but all of the software as a service and the whole program that goes with it.
Yeah, no, but even if we leave out the software and all that stuff, if I spend X amount of dollars with you, I could take total trees planted, divide it by, have a cost per tree, and know where I stand.
You could.
Right?
Yep.
With all the money. The other way, the other audits that are done, you're writing the check and the check is gone, and the check that the paper's made out of from the tree, we have no idea where it came from or where it went.
Yeah.
So there's nothing like that. Cool. So what's the best way if somebody wanted to get involved and get some interest or some information from you?
We usually direct them to our website. It's just got refreshed. I think it tells the whole story. So if I'm an end customer or if I'm a commercial printer and I want to understand a little bit more about the company and all the details, that's a good place to start. And then if you want to learn more or explore a partnership with us, then there's easy ways to click through and contact us. And then our sales team will take them through a more detailed conversation about what partnership looks like, how we support you, how we launch a partnership, train, et cetera, and go forward.
Cool. Yes, I just on the website, I'm smiling because I scroll down and like the first name that sticks out at me is Orvis. And I've got a couple of Orvis fly fishing rods, but it's nice to know that a company like that has taken an interest, right?
Yep.
Because, where do we fish? We fish all along the rivers with the trees. And we need the trees to be healthy.
Yeah. So, of course, Orvis has a sustainability, focus as a company. Their products are used in nature, so it only makes sense.
Patagonia, any of some others? Now I'm thinking when I get off the phone, I'm going to call the fishing companies.
I don't believe Patagonia is a customer. I mean, we've got over 40,000 customers. I don't know all of them. If they were, I would likely know that. But a lot of brands, I've said a number of times, like bigger companies that want to put their name next to ours and leverage what we do to help support their sustainability story.
Wow. That's a lot. I'm looking at the website. Lots of trees. Gotta love the trees. Cool. Yeah. All right. Wow. So I'm there. You got me because you answered everything, and I'm actually going, wow, this is pretty cool.
Thank you.
I like the idea that you could print a small amount of trees or a big amount of trees.
Yeah.
Right. And
It's
all
up
based
to you.
on
Totally flexible.
yeah. And for the printer who's listening, unlike the other certifications where you're writing the check right away, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if you start off and you get into PrintRelief and you got small jobs, small checks, get to market with the small checks, what you're doing.
They do.
And they come up with different ways to work with your customers. You might even want to tell your customers about it and tell them there's a 4% charge on the order to cover their carbon footprint. Yep. Right. And then maybe you want to, as a printer, maybe you want to make a whole statement on doing your best for sustainability, because nobody's perfect, but I think everyone has to show an interest in it just going forward.
And it's all tracked in the software too, Warren. So if you're a printer, you're going to see all of your PrintRelief jobs for each individual customer. If you're an end customer, you're going to see all your PrintRelief jobs specifically to you. So that marries up, but there's visibility, front and back. As data goes in the system, that's probably another thing worth mentioning is if you're one of these partners that's just going to put a job or two in here and there, it's real simple. You just put the paper specs in, we give you a quote, you push submit, you get your certificate and your QR code and you're done. If you're more intensive about it and you want to offset every job, typically printers will drop us a file. We haven't seen a MIS system we can't work with yet where it just exports, gives us the customers the specs of the jobs for the paper. And then we have some pretty cool tech that we've developed where getting all of these different file formats from different MIS systems, we actually import them into our own PrintRelief file format. And so we've got a universal way to push the data into the system, and we're able to do that in a day or two for anything significant and run that typically in a monthly workflow.
Wow. Lots of good stuff. Cool. So anything you want to add to the viewers that we have here before we go?
I mean, again, I want to thank you for having me. I think if printers out there are looking for something that is maybe more innovative than what they've been using in the sustainability realm or what they've been promoting, typically we get feedback that this is it. And so, that's where we want to be, is sort of on the front end or front line of helping the industry move forward in an effective and affordable way, but with a sustainable mission. And so that's typically the partners we're seeking and who see the most value in what we have to offer.
Cool. Love it. So I'm going to put you on the spot right now, and I'm going to ask you if I could have some code link to put in the bottom of the text when the podcast is released, because I want to encourage people to call you and get some information and then sign up. You figure out whatever the offering is going to be, but you got to give an offering. That's what my guests want, and I think once they get in. And I think, by the way, in exchange for that, I would be happy to take 2 tickets for 3 nights at the Sphere to see the Grateful Dead play, since you got me all crazy because I've been trying to not go because I've done too many other things.
You gotta go.
Anyways, all that's just kidding, because I'm going to end up probably going. No, but if the people that are watching this could have some benefit or be encouraged to call you to find out, I think it's good. And for anyone listening, really, for those of you that know me, kind of call it the way I see it, tell you what I think, can't help it. I really think that this way is a great way to kill a few birds with one stone. You get to appease and work with your customers about sustainability, because whether they believe it or not, they're talking about it because of the end customer, right? You get to work with your employees, because there's a lot of employees that are very into this. So you take from a corporate initiative, you take on the sustainability approach. And really, at the end of the day, it's a marketing approach that could only help. And I only see win-wins for very few dollars, actually.
That's the idea.
I thought you were going to come on and tell me the costs and I would have to scream at you. But there's nothing to scream at, because it all just seems really reasonable. So
I believe it is. Yeah.
So on that, girls, I don't know what else to add to that one. But that's the story of today's sustainability. If you want information, you could reach out to Jordan. If you want information, you could reach out to me. If anybody wants to be on the podcast, has any ideas, anything that could be good and used for the print industry, let me know. Otherwise, that's it for today. Warren Werbitt, I love print. for what they think. And thank you again, Jordan. Appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, Warren. I appreciate you having me.